All right, then I'm gonna call
No
the
joke.
meeting to order at 6:01. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 7th, 2015.
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from September 7th, 2015, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. All right. Let's see, let's start up. We did this file. There we go. Okay, additions and deletions, we need to add a request from Christina, somebody help me with that last name? Aguilar?
Yeah, close enough, I'll copy it right.
And we need to add that under correspondence, directly under Tiz Garfield, please.
Yeah,
And
that's for
then,
the use of the comment.
and then we need to add a joint letter with the planning commission, I assume under new business?
Sure.
Is there anything else that needs to be added or deleted? Hearing nothing, then.
I will, the first quarter budget status report, we can delete that from treasurer. I didn't make copies for everybody, there's problems with it.
Well, there's treasure,
and I
not a
didn't-
treasurer here, so,
Well, no, but at least that's on the agenda, so you can take that off.
okay.
And, yeah.
Okay. Then with those changes, moving on to reports, highway, I understand Kurt's not going to be here this evening. So, by any chance, did anybody bring a report from him?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I can say that I think the Grafton culvert, Renault Brothers is doing a big box culvert on Grafton Road up there. I think that's gonna happen in October, but I haven't heard if we've gotten the permits yet. About to work on the easements, I talked to Hammond today, and I guess Renault is gonna gear up and try to do that in October, so.
That's starting to,
I would assume the precasting is
Yeah,
already in the queue and done.
get a pretty good ripple starting in the blacktop right on top of it.
There's a couple of
Where-
those,
where
but
it's
yeah, on that
starting to
one,
settle.
yeah.
All right, the other thing that was on, under highway was the winter sand purchase. Did we get anywhere with that discussion? Did we figure out how much was actually needed? Do we have a request for a certain amount of sand?
I believe that the price is the same from Sosasimo at 13, I'm gonna say 50, I could look it up, but it's somewhere around $13 and change.
Same price, I believe it's been the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh, it has, it's held steady, and Sosasimo seems to be the lowest of the bidders and the most reliable of the deliverers for that. I can't give you a tonnage amount, because I didn't look it up.
I don't remember just what the yardage was.
It was a lot, it was a lot, it was,
Yeah, I know it was an awful lot, I thought.
by a calculator I could figure it out, it's about 35,000 or something like that, divided by 13 and change.
So would someone please request from the highway foreman, some kind of a direction for the board as to how much sand he wishes to purchase for the winter season?
Well, I think he just wants a contract with Sosasimo for whatever he needs, but if you're gonna set
I
a
think we
limit,
need,
if you're
I
gonna
think
set a
we need to
limit on
cap,
it.
I think we need to cap it.
Okay, then I will get you a limit, I can't remember what it was last year, you capped it and then we changed that because we needed more, but it was capped and I think it was, you remember how many yards of sand we bought for last year? No, you don't.
30,000 worth is about 22, just over 2,200 yards.
You have another number coming shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, he yelled at us on his way through.
Well,
All right, we have nothing from law
I know,
enforcement.
somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 yards on it.
I think, I can go into the minutes, I'll, if we have time tonight, I'll give you an up on that, but we need Kurt here to make a recommendation to discuss that, but, also under highway, Springfield paving is apparently done. They finished that off, they painted the road. When was it, Friday night, 5 o'clock, something like that, they came through, did the lines, center lines anyway. I'm just trying to think of what else on the highway. You heard anything about concrete for the sidewalk or anything like that? Okay.
No, but I see them out there looking this morning, they had some cones up, but I don't know what that's.
Well, that was from yesterday. I think they're blocking it off so that people don't walk there for church. They aren't our cones though, I don't believe.
Oh.
They don't say TFD on them or highway.
No, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
But I see the cones there, and I see the one ton over here by the common back in there, and gonna head back that way, so I don't know what.
And you're working for highway this week?
I don't know when.
For what?
He's gotta get flaggers, doing gravel on the shoulders.
Oh, for up at the Grafton, where they paved
Where
up
they
there.
paved.
Okay. Do you do guardrails before you do shoulders or after? I guess you do it after. Or it doesn't matter.
I've been gonna do guardrails for 6 years.
All right.
Okay, just trying to bring stuff up.
Yep,
For
haven't
next week or
seen-
something.
Damn it.
Haven't any bids or anything come in or anything on guardrail ones, huh?
Nobody said anything so
Nobody
far.
said anything.
Well, that's
It's been in the budgets for so long now, it's just
Yeah,
standard
no, that's what I
figure.
say, I hadn't heard nothing about it.
No, and we can't seem to get anybody in here to discuss anything with us either, which doesn't help. So, please have him attend if he wants sand, otherwise he'll get what we decide on, which may be a sandbox.
Be better off putting a shoulder on first.
Okay, law enforcement, we did receive a check, did we not, from the state?
We did on the, that was one I put in, it was for, what our figures were last year, the judiciary sends in another portion.
Okay,
We get a certain proportion, just as a matter of fact, when they settle, and then some of that goes into like an escrow account, and then they divide it among the towns based on what your, can't remember how much, it was a nice little,
it was a nice little check.
yeah.
All right, town clerk, you all have a copy of her counter money? Treasurer, Joe,
All right, Rob, pass that over to her. I have no idea what we got, because one of the schools has cashed the check as of 10:30 this morning,
okay.
so I don't know what we got. I
Okay,
didn't
that's
sign
in
that.
the-
Well, the schools, each of the schools is a little, well, it's less than 300,000, but 270, 260, something like that. So if one of them hasn't, then you can deduct approximately 300 off.
Well, but that's not
Gonna do it.
not gonna do it.
Okay.
One of these is a savings account, so that's gotta be the top one.
No, that's that slush account.
Right, that's a little, cause they keep, isn't it 30,000 is what they keep in the checking?
Yeah.
And then they move it over?
Yeah,
So you have roughly
29 something.
1 million, well, I know, but the total combined,
Mhm.
so it's gonna be 1,144,000. I'm adding backwards in my head, which never is a good idea. $545, $46.14.
Approximately.
No, well, that's adding the figures that are here.
Yeah, okay.
$1,144,546.14.
Before tonight's warrants, before one of the schools cashes a check for
Yeah.
a big amount. Okay, that's fine.
According to this school payment, it's $585,721.68.
But that's Leland and Gray and Townsend
Yeah,
Elementary. They
both
get-
schools, yeah.
Right, they get separate checks. That's paid already. We paid that last week. And apparently one of them hasn't cashed it yet, so,
Oh,
High school.
all right.
yeah.
Okay, so,
He doesn't have that.
oh, okay.
Well, the elementary school needs it, the elementary school needed it yesterday, and
All right. Then we did have a letter that was photocopied and given to everybody to look over. It was a 4-page letter responding to the audit request.
Yeah, for Valley Cares.
Well, it had to do with Valley
Yeah,
Cares.
that's what I mean, do with the Valley Cares.
But they didn't like the bookkeeping and whatnot, and it was, they asked us to respond to that,
How did
piece.
it come about they changed, after the fact, they changed everything?
yeah,
That's just what it is, because when it was done, it was supposed to be an audit, let's make sure stuff was paid and stuff. And not for 40 years or 35 years or what the hell ever they're asking for now.
Do you have,
Well, the original contract with Valley Cares on the Community Housing Development Grant was for 40 years. I mean, it is a grant that the town received for community development, which it gave to Valley Cares. That grant will be forgiven. I mean, it's technically a loan, but it will be a grant. It will be a given amount. They will forgive the loan after 40 years if Valley Cares maintains its financial integrity and sovereignty and integrity. However, they're doing that is not something that they have to prove to the state. They have to prove it to us, and we have to prove it to the state. So the state comes after us for their financial reports. And it's gonna be 5-6 years out. You're gonna have all new personnel, new town clerk,
Yeah,
new treasurer, new
nobody's gonna
me.
know what's going on.
Well, right, except Kathy will still be around to
But
advise.
this is on the addition, I believe, right?
So-
Well, they've
It's
got
the whole
3 of them
thing.
now. There are 3 of them that we're
and it's,
tracking.
and it's
Three
all,
of them now.
it's, well, it's all been rolled into one. It's all into one grant number right now. And we have about 35 years left to go to report. But that letter is due to the state by the end of the month, so it either has to be signed by Joe tonight, or we just have to take whatever lumps the state throws at us.
So Irv, in processing, in the state looking at our response to that requirement that we had to fill out, they wanted one of our independent audit reports because the independent audit was required. We sent them the audit report, and the audit was fine, except in the back page of the audit from McSorley McCoy last March, February, March, there were 6 recommendations about how not to handle money in the clerk's office, how to do reconciliation out back with the bookkeeper and all of that. They picked up on those. They requested of the treasurer, how are you proceeding with that? How are you going to address these issues that the auditor brought up? The response before you that Kathy showed you last week, or 2 weeks ago, is in response to that. And we have basically until the end of, well, we'll get tonight's meeting to decide on that, but basically that needs to get
The
back
copy
up.
of it was in here,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
But, well, it's no different than stuff that's been going for years. All of a sudden they decide they wanna change everything.
Well, it's payment in lieu of taxes for the state park out here, for example. That's now a grant. We have to justify it. We're gonna have to account for how we handle that
Oh, I
money.
know, that's.
And if we don't apply for it, and we don't apply correctly for it, we don't get it anymore. It's not like it's an entitlement anymore. We have to apply for it because it's now considered a grant. And if they decide not to fund it fully, that's up to the legislature. And they've cut the funding on that, part of it anyway. Anyway.
Yeah,
I'm
but
getting
what would
off-
happen
Yeah,
if
you're going 6 ways to Sunday left
cover
field.
all
I was
bases.
gonna say, if I didn't pay taxes on 900,000 acres, what would happen? They sure as hell wouldn't just sit back and take it easy. They would be right after you,
Well,
the
they're
town
right.
would be after you to sell it.
They're right after us for not filling out silly forms that they
Yeah.
never signed up to
Then-
fill out.
Then a half a mile up the road, you got another 1,000 acres that they don't wanna pay either, federal government. And that consortium that, the, states like Connecticut and Massachusetts and all them, they don't wanna, we get money out of it. Well, they ought to see the mess that's up there that we're putting up with.
All right,
Well, and the only person to have dredged it in the last 50 years is you.
okay.
Okay.
Now, back to the question at hand. Are we ready to send this letter in response to the query from the state about the audit?
So moved.
Yeah, it's gotta go in. and-
Well, it's technically the treasurer's, it's his signature on the bottom of that. And is it satisfactorily address the concerns that were listed in that letter? That's all we're asking.
But also the bureaucracy in Montpelier keeps changing, so they would keep asking for different things
Well,
too.
that's all the time.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I think the consensus of the board is to have the treasurer address the state via this letter?
Yes, Rob?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You can't really vote on it because we can't force Joe to sign it. It's still up to
Well,
him.
no, but you can,
Recommend that,
the board can instruct, well, I guess instruction is the wrong word.
That's
The
right.
board can recommend that Joe look at this draft letter and get it in before, but that the board approves. Move to have Joe do what's right.
makes it easy. Okay, the next one would be the instruction to the reserve fund. You have that one as well. So I don't have the language.
Oh, I'm sorry, do I have it? Yeah, I do have that. Okay, so that was the consensus of the board voted to approve. All right. Sorry.
Basically, we have discussed this a couple of times and about moving the reserve funds into separated funds, getting them out of the general fund so we knew where our
Right.
cash flow, our cash position was. And this is an instruction to the treasurer. It says, we understand that there is due to the town of Townsend approximately $8,967.50 from the state of Vermont to be applied toward future costs for reappraising properties. We further understand that there is presently approximately $94,837.08 in the Townsend General Fund checking account, which has accumulated over previous years for that same reappraisal purpose. Upon receipt of the FY 15-16 reappraisal fund payment from the state of Vermont, a reappraisal reserve account should be opened in such a manner as you deem appropriate to segregate these funds from the Townsend General Fund checking account. Let this be your order for making such transfers of funds accordingly. So it's instruction for Joe to set aside the reappraisal funds into a separate account.
Yeah, it should be. That's my feeling. It should be kept in a separate account.
It's about $102,000, or will be. It shows up in his reports all the time. There's about 160 in reserves, if you will. That's the lion's share of it. And with the new grants coming in October, these grant payments for reappraisal and equalization study and all that, this one at any rate being pretty big, probably ought to be set aside and in a savings account or a CD or
But
something.
even that reappraisal money should not be
Be commingled.
in a general fund.
Well, and the state is looking at us to make sure that we account for it and have accounting for it. If it's segregated, then it makes it a lot easier.
So is there a motion to?
Because I gotta say, you want, I don't know, 6-8 years ago that, the select board at that time, well, we had too many funds.
Yep.
Wanted to roll them all together, well, that was the reason we had the funds, so that they were segregated, so that they didn't get used in the general fund.
Okay, so is there a motion to instruct the treasurer to open a new account for this reappraisal fund?
Yeah, we have to account for the money.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table from Rob. Is there a second?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second
so
it.
Rob will second.
Second it or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of instructing the treasurer to establish a reappraisal fund signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And that'll happen within the next month or so. When the money comes in, he can just do it all together.
Need your signature there, Ruth?
It just makes it easy for the minutes and easy for the auditors to follow a paper trail.
Alrighty. Then the next item on the agenda would be the warrants, wherever they are. Oh, Herb's coming. Are you done with those, Herb? The warrants?
Now, I got one more to look at.
Okay, then Dale, did you have something for us?
Yeah, I did actually. The reason why I came tonight was I talked to Craig a few weeks ago about just kind of reminding myself and reminding him. When I was on the board, there was a project put out there from David Diesendorf, who masterminded the start of this idea, and I figured someone, obviously there's 3 new board members and they're not even hardly probably aware of it, was that with the AT&T tower going in, we put in last year's budget $5,000 to the fire department for communications, and I think it was $5,000 in the highway fund for communications. And with the agreement of going to put some radio equipment up there to assist the town in some sense or another, I have some ideas on how we should probably do that, how we can assist the access for the fire department and for the highway. And what I would talk to Craig about it a little bit was that it wouldn't be that early now to start looking at how we want to build that system and what we want to build. It could be very simple and not very complex, but I think the first step would be is to make sure AT&T has it in there that Townshend can put some equipment on that tower and it's in writing.
It's part of our agreement.
That's part of our agreement, but you want to make sure that it's there and what their engineers will allow us to put on there.
That's at Crane Mountain?
No, the one up here on Autos.
Oh.
Right behind the library.
The one that's going up behind the library. We were looking at, I think, some antenna sites on that tower, and they were allotting us some. And my concern is actually making sure there is, before you go and spend some money on buying equipment or even designing a system or having a system, I honestly think that the best bet and the easiest way for all of us is we all sit down and figure out what they allow us to do, or not necessarily what we got. Ask AT&T's engineers what they're going to allow us to do.
We need to put 2 people together. Our people who are going to design and manufacture or buy or whatever, and their engineers who are actually going to do the installation.
No, their engineers aren't going to do the installation. But their engineers got to okay whatever we put on there.
Well,
I've done some research. I've actually talked to certain people.
The antennas are going to go on before the tower goes up, I assume.
That's where you would want to have it. But the idea is you got to get their approval of what you're putting on.
Right.
And it has to go through their engineer.
But our people need to talk to their.
But our people need to talk to them. My feeling is about it is that we put an RFP together to have some sense of it is make sure the legal jigo's all there before we even do anything. Make sure it's in hard writing and what they're going to allow us to put on there. And then we put that in the RFP to do what we may want. I think to have it, have it go out to a firm to design and build. And it would be easier because my issue is with it is yeah, we can all look on the computer and buy this and that. It may not work together right, it may not be what we can do, and it may not be complex. My idea is there is several radio companies that we as a fire department, I've just gotten price quotes for radios, is to see if they would build and design a system that would work for us. I mean, for what the town might need, might be a little different than what the fire department would need. And if there's room for a couple antennas and a couple units in there, the idea would be is to basically put a booster in that would boost out and be able to help the town. And that's what David was initially trying to do.
Okay, well, board members can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the strength of technical engineering, how to put an RFP together or who to contact, is either with me or this board at the present moment. Therefore, I would leave it to the fire department and highway department, and I don't know that it's there at the highway department.
I don't think it is either, necessarily. It's not even there in the fire department that much.
Well, Warren seemed to know his way around, but again, you guys have some idea of what it is you're looking for. You've talked to Radio Shop, you know what.
I haven't talked to talked to Radio North too.
Okay.
I've talked to Radio North. The thing is there's a lot of warning signs that says, you want to, my issue is we could sit here in the back room and order a bunch of stuff, and I'd rather not do that.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
I don't want you to either.
Numbers.
But the idea is I think to have us professional help come in But I think that'd be step 2. Step 1 is make sure all the legal jiggles in there, what we can do, and then have it done. But the idea is to look at, they're planning on doing something next year. It will take 6 months to figure out what we want to do and see how much it's going to cost us, and then to see if that money's enough money, or we might need to put some more money in, or we do a little now to get some parts of it up and then finish it out later on.
Well, I can certainly pull out the contract, and we can make connections with phone numbers and names that we already have.
So
And I can provide those to whomever you might want to have, or somebody wants to have, talk to somebody, and we can further try to get names, but. In
I
terms
just
of-
was saying, I just wanted to get that into the queue and say, if they're gonna build next summer, it would be smart this fall to have something, idea what we're gonna do.
Right, we need somebody in town to take this on. Because right now it isn't me, and I don't know that the board is gonna give that task to me.
Every time it happens, half of us may not even be on the board. That's something that you gotta get a committee or something to,
Well, I don't know that I'm smart up enough to be the one to spearhead this, and I really don't want the assignment, therefore I'm just saying.
I
Somebody
know what
needs
you're
to-
saying.
I can facilitate.
I don't mind being part of it, but I don't think I should be a one-man band either. I think we should get a few heads into it and actually come up. The thing is somebody he has a great idea that we could actually boost. We have an opportunity to really make our own system and have a place to transmit it from. That would help out some of the dead spots. My idea was just try to
yeah, you
Support the portable
got dead
issues.
spots for both highway and the fire departments.
Right, but that's gonna have to be coordinated by somebody that's familiar with both the systems and somebody that can handle this. I don't know,
That's why you'd hire somebody to do the design and build. But you got to write up an RFP, but you got to know what you have I need to know what you need to have, what we have allowed to us, and then see if there's something that would fit in it.
Well, I
That's what I'm
believe,
saying.
if I remember correctly, the language, and it's been a long time since I've looked at it, but if I remember correctly, I think David had specific language in the proposal for the antennas and the repeaters. And you should be able to go back to that original document and see what direction they were going, that they agreed to, at least in principle, at that point in time.
Right.
If you need to change from whatever it was he was
I think
looking for.
David and I are, what I'm trying to tell you, are on the same track. It's just want to make sure it follows through.
Well, it's truly just a matter of somebody buying the equipment, because AT&T has given the approval in that contract for a couple of issues. And so the antennas can go up, but yes, you're absolutely correct. They need to be available and ready to go when they build.
But the thing is too is I've had experience that AT&T maybe gave us permission for a 35 watt and we go out and buy a 100 watt, then that would be an issue.
Well, you're gonna have an issue with the FCC
So the
anyway.
idea, FCC.
The FCC's gonna be all over you.
We already have licenses on our systems. We may be able to, we can do with that. We have the licenses for those.
For 100 what?
I wouldn't be surprised if we have 100 watt for the fire department. I know we do. For that frequency is 100 watts.
Anyway, I know that the original document is in there, at least the state it was approved in by AT&T.
like I say, I can pull information, but you're gonna have to come up with somebody for me to contact, because tomorrow morning, nothing's gonna happen on this.
No, I don't expect it.
Right,
I'm not expecting it tomorrow, but I just wanted to maybe so I get that information and I'll help work
We
on
don't
that.
even know at this point in time where it is in the process with public
No,
service.
and last we heard, there was a delay because of financing, that they didn't know if they were gonna get to it as they
Well, that's the
intended.
question. That's what I'm saying.
Right, and we can certainly try to get an update on that. You're certainly right to try to be thinking 6 months in advance, and we're probably
yeah,
down
you
to
gotta-
6 months on the early part of it.
Right. I don't know where it is. That's why I was just throwing it back out there because you got 3 new board members. I know one's not here.
But this board is not gonna propel it forward, and I'm not gonna propel it forward, so I need somebody to come in and push, and we'll get the paperwork together. I'll make a few phone calls and try to connect 2 names, but that's As far as we can go at the
Right.
moment, other than the release funds or whatever, we can put an RFP out, but I don't have any, I wouldn't know how to do that. Not having any technical,
Me neither.
yeah, see, there we are.
Okay, so we're all
So
the
we'll
same
give it-
boat.
But we're all in the same boat, I just wanted to,
We'll give it.
I'll work on it, we'll
Okay,
make a
good.
try.
Alrighty,
Alrighty.
was there anything else then, Dale?
Yeah.
That be it? All right, then somebody's gonna have to read the warrants here.
I think it's me.
I take it it's you. We're a little short-handed tonight.
Yep. Check warrant report number 92101 for payroll in the amount of $10,542.47.
Is there a second?
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll warrant 92101 in the amount of $10,542.47 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Check warrant report number 92102 for the taxes in the amount of $4,192.07.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying, payroll withholding warrant number 92102 in the amount of $4,192.07 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Check warrant report number 92103, general school fund in the amount of $585,721.68.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving general fund warrant 92103, which is the payment to the elementary school and the high school in the amount of $585,721.68 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Check warrant report number 92104, town general fund, the amount of $17,229.65.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant 92104 in the amount of $17,229.65 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Check warrant report number 92108, oh, sorry,
No.
92105,
Okay.
highway fund in the amount of $3,769.68.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 92105 for the highway fund in the amount of $3,769.68 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Check warrant report number 92106, town equipment fund in the amount of $4,947.55.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. What have we, on the back part here from last week, we had the repair on the cylinder
Yep.
for the truck.
Right.
I believe that warrant, what's the second page of that warrant? Is it last week's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so that's exactly the same as it was last week. And it failed, not last week, but 2 weeks ago on the 7th, was it the 7th? Whenever it was. It failed, so it's put back in for revisiting.
Basically the cylinder, what I talked to Kurt and he said,
Yep.
there it is. Kurt, we were talking about the cylinder on the 1 ton, on the Tenco,
Oh, on the Freightliner.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was maybe you can explain it better than I can.
It's a proprietary cylinder. That's the only cylinder that fits it. If we bought another cylinder, I repacked it. But to change it out, you gotta take the body to pick it up and stuff. And I brought it up there because I didn't want to buy a new cylinder. I wanted it to get fixed. But they said, there's no fixing it. We have the old cylinder back. so they replaced the cylinder. And if I bought an aftermarket cylinder, I'd have to cut all the mounts off, you know how the balls on the side mount and stuff, I'd have to fit it to the truck, so I didn't think that was the best thing to do. But that's why we got a Tenco cylinder. And I told you guys before, I was gonna buy a cylinder for it, I don't know if anybody remember or not.
All right, so the motion on the table is to approve warrant 92106 for the equipment fund in the amount of $4,947.55. There's a second on that as well, I believe.
Or second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 92106 for the equipment fund in the amount of $4,947.55 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
One abstention, motion passes.
Check warrant report 92107, Town Equipment Fund, $803.22.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying equipment warrant 92107 in the amount of $803.22 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion passes. One abstention.
Check warrant report 92108, Highway Fund for $100.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving highway warrant 92108 in the amount of $100 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion passes with one abstention. Okay. Now, let's backtrack. All right, do we want to go back up to highway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sand, how much did you use last year? Do you have any idea?
Any idea? No, I don't remember.
Do you have any recommendations as to the amount of sand you wish to use or you want to buy this year?
Well, I want to start off getting a sand shed filled, which is about 1,800 yards, so we'll probably use 5,000 to 6,000 yards.
How much you used last?
He doesn't
I'll
remember.
tell you in about 3 minutes.
I was gonna say, we must have some record.
I'll do a quick rundown on just Osmo.
I have a letter from Chisasco, I left at my other pickup truck, with the same price as last year. Tied in until April, so, or May.
Okay. So that was the one on the agenda that we
What,
just pulled out.
What was the deal on the tube in the loader tire?
The tube in the loader tire had a hole in it, I have no idea why.
That was a brand new tube, right? You told me, Irv?
Yeah, well, they put in one tube, less than a week later, it went fine again.
It's fine again.
Did they charge for that?
I believe they did. Not yet. I believe they will.
Why?
Now, that's what I wanna know, because I'll go see Huawei and find out what's going on, and if they do charge for it.
I had him do it at the town garage this time, it's in the pit, we aired it up and drove it home real quick so it wasn't flat. And, you know, I said, make sure you check the tire, cause, so, but they didn't.
Yeah,
They usually write a comment on
Wondered
the,
if it had a little stone or some darn thing in it, and he didn't clean it.
they usually write a comment on the thing of what it was, you know, sometimes the valve stem turns and breaks off or whatever, but they didn't.
Well, there was nothing on the order that we've seen.
Right.
Okay. The question that did come up, Springfield paving, I think it is done.
Yes.
Who's going to be filling in the driveways that have the cuts? Oh, so you're gonna be doing that?
We have to do the shoulders, as part of the Act 119, you guys adopted complete streets, we have to do the shoulders. And when we do the shoulders, we'll do the driveways also, with a little lip on the driveway.
So you do the aprons to take care of that, because there's some people that aren't happy.
Yes, I know,
Okay,
but the one, I heard they're not, the one I did talk to, I took care of today,
okay.
so I just found out about it this weekend. Yeah.
And can you explain to me, because I'm gonna plead total ignorance, why all three of you actually were out with Springfield paving last week? What was your role while they were actually laying pavement? You all three of you put it on your time sheets, that you were out with Springfield paving last week. Blue one.
I was with Springfield paving a lot.
I was just curious to see if I can find them here. Did you get your sand?
That's coming.
Okay. See, I can't read them anyway, which doesn't help. That's yours.
I live with Springfield paving a lot, because I always hang around and check the slips.
No, that's the wrong way for him. Okay, he did. Wrong way.
Let's start again.
Nice if you could read them. So maybe it was just yours. I don't see it
And
now.
those guys should have been grading this stuff, and I was with Springfield paving.
So you were with Springfield Paving for approximately 13 hours then? And the purpose, I mean, other than just making sure they were doing the correct section of
I
road?
always have every town I ever worked for, hung around the pavers while they're paving, go back and forth and go back and check them out. Go open the garage for them to use the phone.
Anybody else? Any questions, anything for Kurt?
Make sure the aprons are done, which they were done. The first one I
Oh, I
missed.
know what I wanna ask you.
Alright, what's that?
About the sidewalk in front of the church.
Yes, we cut it today, tomorrow we're gonna put the forms in.
So the concrete's still in there, you haven't actually taken the old chunks out yet?
No, because I gotta block the church's driveway off tomorrow.
Okay.
I put cones up this morning, but 4 cars went around the cones, you saw the cones there. 4 cars went around the cones and parked in the driveway, so I'm gonna put some barriers up in front of the driveway. Because once we dig the hole, put the forms up, we can't have them drive in and out.
Right.
So,
So you're gonna take care of that tomorrow?
yes. Forms are going in tomorrow. Concrete's cut, blacktop's cut, we have to cut the blacktop, not to put the forms in.
Okay, and the other issue that I personally noted, I was in here one midday, and I could hear that grader coming from the bottom of the hill all the way through, and when it passed this down hall, it was going faster than my car goes when it comes up the hill. We really need to control the speed. That machine is not made to whine like that. And I think we need to actually do something about it.
I think it's if you drive it, it only goes 27 miles an hour, that is maxed out. And I doubt Ed was holding it to the floor the whole way.
Oh, it was screaming.
And I personally, when I was coming out of Grace Cottage, he had the loader, and he came up through there with a loader, and it swerved like that to go around people. And a person in the crosswalk. I saw that myself personally. And I'm asking that you tell him he slows that down in town and up through there. Not tell him, you demand.
Those are big pieces of machinery to keep under
We
control.
pay repair, and pay repair, and then to have them driving up through there like that, I don't think there's a need for it. And it's not safe. I saw that in front of Grace Cottage Hospital, and I was pretty upset.
Okay. I don't-
1310 is the price, 50 whatever is the bucks.
Okay, so 4,075 yards.
Right, 4,000 yards roughly.
That's all we used last year?
Yeah.
So that was last year's.
It's all the sand that you're using, or salt you're using instead.
Oh, we don't use salt on the black, on the dirt roads.
So, yeah, so that, is that,
1310, sound right, price? Something like that, 1350, 1310, that was 1310.
so roughly 4,000 yards.
Does that sound right, 4,000 yards?
I thought it was more than that.
I would think it'd be more than that, but. I would think it was.
I want that to see the
Did I
slip.
slip a decimal, is it 40?
No.
Oh, of course.
We know what we did, though, we started off with those full
$50,000.
shifts in the year before,
Well, it's
because we
22
bought it
for
at
this 30,
at the locked-in price.
350.
So how much are you ordering?
We have.
I only order like 1,800 yards to start off with, to fill up the shed.
That's what the shed holds,
The shed holds
2,000?
2,200 yards, but, yeah, but it has sand in it and everything, so.
Do we need, I guess the question becomes, do we wanna put a cap on it?
I think,
You know,
no,
you guys can put a cap on salt and sand. Caliber, I know you think we dumped it around the corners and stuff, which maybe does, maybe doesn't. The trucks are calibrated. We cut way back, because we had complaints on our sand, like on West Hill, we cut back. But maybe we did over sand the hills quite a bit, because that's what we do to make sure everybody's good. But, how can you put a cap on it? I have no idea what the weather's gonna be.
Well, but we can also say that we're gonna give you blank to order X. After that, we need to have a discussion again, as opposed to you just continuing to order it and order it and order it and order it.
Okay.
It becomes very difficult
That-
to
that
have any
makes sense.
communication.
That makes sense.
what,
But I just don't arbitrarily, sand for the fun of it, or,
No, that's not what
Or
we're
salt
saying,
for the fun of
but
it,
I
or-
think there needs to be communication between you, the highway department, and the select board. In a winter like last winter, where you were blowing through materials as if they were water, we need to all understand what's going on, and if we're not talking, we don't have that
I
level of
understand that.
communication.
But we weren't just, doing it for fun. We were doing it for a reason.
Yeah, but sometimes on the flats, they get carried away. Pave the goddamn thing, and on the flat, you don't need as much as you do on the hills.
I agree with you.
I think we've already established though that we're cutting back heavily on the salt. Right?
so, and if you do that,
Then we probably
We're
wanna
gonna
make
need-
sure
we
we
wanna
have
have
plenty of sand.
Right. But I think we need an
I
accurate.
don't
But it
salt the
also
sand.
comes, it
I
also
would make a
comes,
motion to revisit at 5,000 yards and go from there. And use it, obviously, when you need it, and not frivolously.
All the trucks are calibrated,
So it's 5,000 sound
Right.
reasonable, and then at least have a good discussion
Okay.
when we get to that number?
If we have a good retake, yeah.
I mean, that should get us pretty deep through the winter if we used 4,000 last year. But a whole bunch of salt, and a whole bunch of salt. If we take the salt out of the equation, we're gonna use more sand.
And not necessarily.
How do you figure earth? Let's get real.
Well, I don't think you wanna be sanding the blacktops, because that's a huge.
Pretty hard to determine just exactly what.
Alright.
You may
well,
have,
based on previous year's experience, last year we budgeted $110 for materials and supplies and spent $150. That's 150% over.
But you cut me 30,000 from the year before.
Well, I'm not, I wasn't.
And then, yeah, because that's what we went on, and you cut me
I'm just saying.
30,000 the year before, and then the price of salt went up like, what, 40%?
Doubled. Went
Yeah,
from
I'm just-
45
I'm just saying,
to
how
If
48.
you, so I went over budget, but you cut me 30 and the price of the material doubled. So that's awful hard for me to stay within balance.
Well, I didn't cut you 30, I'm just saying, you need to come up with a realistic budgets report in October, November. I know it depends on, but we need to do that, and we need to build in some overage, because we go to the taxpayer in March, we get funding, and then we're stuck with going here or there, we have to cut other projects.
If it's a wet winter, that kills us.
No, last year it was
The
every day.
rain kicks our butt. It really does.
So Rob made a motion to at least
Approve up to 5.
approve up to 5,000, and then ask that there be discussion if we need to go over that amount. Is there a second to that?
a second,
You did second?
I will, yep,
Okay.
I did.
Is there, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving 5,000 yards of sand from a purchase standpoint, and then requesting that there be a conversation for any additional sand that may need to be purchased this coming winter, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. So if you could just,
I'm gonna add to that motion the price. I'll look up
Whatever it
last
is.
year's bill, because if it's the same this year, I'm just gonna say up to 5,000 at, just so that we're sure where we are.
Do you have any records how much you actually used last year? Cause 4,000 seems pretty low, isn't it? I
We
mean,
write down the truck amount, what we put down.
yeah, yeah.
I
don't
can try
know.
and figure it out. I could figure it out, but
well, that's gotta be
you
relative.
always don't, like,
You get the bills right there.
you always
I
don't
just
come back with an
don't put
empty truck. You always don't, because you can't, if you're empty going down the hill,
I know.
you're gonna have weight on the truck, so it's not always what we say.
Well, so
Push it, lose,
there,
load,
I mean,
dump.
here's all the sand.
I marked the ones I added up, and I may have missed one, but even if I missed one, it's only gonna amount to a couple hundred yards.
I could cost us out.
And of course,
No,
yeah,
just,
these are the bills.
Those are all the bills?
These
From
are,
seems-
last September through whenever, April.
it doesn't have the tonnage, but it has the total price,
Which if you divide by
which then
13,
you divided,
Right.
so $53,000 worth of sand
yeah.
at $13 a ton, or a yard, rather. Alrighty, anything else? Did you have anything for us, Kurt?
Yes, the Grafton Road culvert.
Yeah,
I applied for an extension for a permit, which Todd Lee's got me. He emailed me. I forwarded it to Everett Hammond the week before. And matter of fact, today we had to go up on Grafton Road to fix a shoulder right by the culvert because there's a big sinkhole in
I
it.
just tell them earlier, I come across the other night, next beginning time.
And so I saw the sinkhole, so we went up this afternoon after we got everything done and fixed the sinkhole, and I came back and started playing phone tag with Everett Hammond, and then I called Renault Brothers. I forget the name of their engineer.
Charlie,
Charlie,
Charlie Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, is it Ezekiel?
Yeah.
Anyways, ended up getting a hold of him. He said he hadn't heard anything from Hammond, so I called Hammond up, and Hammond said, "Oh, I didn't get that." So I forwarded everything back to him again, and he was gonna forward Renault's, because culvert's being manufactured right now. They want to come up and put the signs up and start doing some preliminary work, trimming the trees and whatnot, but they haven't heard from Hammond. So hopefully this got Hammond going to get going.
We already did the report to members of the public, and we're going back to highway report, but I did talk to Hammond today.
You did?
And I'm gonna try to get that easement squared up this week. Last I had understood was that Renault would not be able to make it, but now I understand that the culvert is in casting, and
Yes.
that they do hope to do it in October.
Yes.
So we're gonna push that forward, and I did talk to him, the financing should be good for quite a while. But anyway, they are gonna try to do it this fall, so, we'll get the push on it.
I got what they wanted me, I got in order, I just
Yep.
gotta get the easement.
Yep.
And, yeah, Rice Tree has a few more things to do,
Jesus.
and, then we'll pick up the stuff that the people don't want, of course, and, our roadside mowing, has anybody heard from?
I haven't seen it.
Don't tell them, don't let Grafton Road trees on the side of the road stop you from doing the rest of the town, you know.
We received, last week we received the insurance policy for them, so I think they're, getting ready.
Okay, good.
That was dropped off. Yeah,
Very
on the
good.
file.
I think we're down to being one of the last towns in this county to get mowed.
Has Newfield been on?
No, that's why I said one of them.
Who'd they get, Rocco?
I don't know.
is there anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay, anything else here? Alright, then we'll slip back down, I'm sure where we were. Dale, you were done, members
I
of
was
the
done,
public?
you
Okay.
before the warrants, because you were waiting for the warrants.
Yeah, okay, so then the warrants, we went back to that, boy, this is, we're not
Back here in
gonna
correspondence now.
put, we're not gonna put any
Go
numbers,
back next door, I'll see you guys later.
thank you. Mr.
Thank you
Hunt,
for coming here.
I just have to, no, not you, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt, when did we start counting, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10?
I left you 6 and 7 to fill in, so if you needed.
Gotcha. Just curious, what the heck was going on there?
I'm losing it real fast.
Evidently.
Losing it Very fast.
Okay, so you all should
I can't
know.
count very good.
Don't push.
I got a little bit of it.
So the only reason I do is because I marked them all. We all got a note from Tiz Garfield basically talking about the new requirement to in fact work or to go through the state and apply for grants. And her suggestion that in fact, we might want to consider working through Wyndham Regional, which we still do not have
Do not have
a representative to. But to steal Craig's thunder for later, they have been taken care of for this year. Uh-oh, I got turned upside
Oh.
down.
But it's still, you have to apply for a grant
Yes, you
instead
do.
of just receiving a pilot,
Yes, you do.
right?
Yep.
So we no longer get quote-unquote tax money from the state. You have to apply for a grant to cover that.
By way of agreement and obligation, no, you don't. You now have to apply for it, and don't be surprised if they want you to tell them what you did with the money in the future and justify it and account for it. But right now,
And
they
have an
have to
audit
apply for it.
and
We do
on
have,
and on.
we do have a schedule. The majority of the money will be in, the current use, hold harmless, will be in October.
And,
The reappraisal funds will be in October. The other three don't add up to very much. So those two are about 90-something thousand, and they'll be here rather quickly. And before you came, Kit, the board passed a motion to hand Joe a draft letter, if you will, to, I'm sorry, passed a motion to instruct him to, when that money for reappraisal fund comes in, we're getting about $8,800 or something this year, to add that to the 92 that's in the general fund and set that aside in a reserve account that he deems best, but get it out of the general checking account.
right.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna give you two more pieces of correspondence. We get the Bristol water sample property.
I just gotta say how
And
this legislative action, or however they came up with this, doing away with payment in lieu of taxes and making us apply for grant, really sticks in my craw. And I'm not sure where to go with it. I don't know if we have an active representative that talks to us in town, but maybe whoever is the representative for this town.
There isn't one.
Emily Long.
There isn't one?
In Montpelier.
Oh, in Montpelier.
Yeah.
Emily Long.
Emily Long. Maybe we could invite her, because I'm sure that Governor Shumlin won't make it, but maybe we can invite her. This isn't right. I don't care. It's not right. Just isn't right. That the state
A small
changes that.
segue on that, or another aspect of that, is that the state is desperately, I won't say desperately, the state is trying to go paperless and make everything electronic.
I understand.
On email, and I try to cue you in on your emails too, if you read them every night. But in any case, they've had some problems with their websites. So I mean, it becomes a task to do these things when you only have, we got this August 19th or something. They were due by September 20th, or September 15th. Until the 12th or so, they were having problems with the website.
Well, and I
Some people
understand
weren't
that,
being
but
contacted, you didn't have the
and
forms.
we weren't notified that this was even in the works. I mean, we had absolutely no say. So our state representative should have had a say, and at least somehow, not just this select board, but every select board in the state should have had some advance notice that this may be taking place. We've had no voice in this, and that's not the way the government should be set up. And
No,
I understand that they're strapped for money and they're doing everything they can do to sidestep and go around, but it's not okay. So
We
maybe
we can invite
we could
anybody.
invite Emily to the next meeting, at least to, I don't know, I'm sure there's nothing we can do other than scream and kick and holler, and I can do that, but
I think
It
it's
ain't
probably
right.
tacked into a bill probably.
I'm sure it was tacked into a bill, but it's the responsibility of a representative to know what's in those bills and find out how a representative voted and why this is. I mean, in other words, the state they're strapped for money, as well as I'm strapped, as well as the town of Townsend is well known as strapped for money. So the state says, well, we're not gonna pay you our taxes anymore. And if you want money for the land that we have in your town, you gotta apply for a grant to get it. I mean, that's not,
Yeah, then they don't pay dollar-wise, they don't pay peanuts
it's not.
on the amount of acreage they
Well,
got.
it's a grant, then the legislature can decide whether to
Whether
fund
they're
or not
gonna
fund
give
the
it
grant.
to you or
Right.
not, so.
And yet they want all this land reserved.
And I think our only recourse is through elections and who we send to Montpelier and what's happening in Montpelier. I don't know what else you can do.
Unless you get enough towns to sign it.
Well, if you can get enough towns, because there are
Sign a
enough
class
towns,
action.
there are enough towns that are hurting for this.
Well, as this all came about with such a short deadline, and the state didn't actually have the information out to the people who were supposed to be filing for these grants in a timely manner, and it was also sent via email. There was no notice. It was just an email with a really strange e-sign or
Look for
something.
an email from e-sign.
Yeah,
Right.
in the line, most of the treasurers and our clerks trashed it, which is what essentially happened here in Townsend.
Yeah.
And it was sent to Anita, addressed to Joe, but it got lost in the shuffle or ended up in a spam folder or something like that. And that is, again, where I was segueing to. You do have changeover in personnel. We've had it in the finance office, but that's basically the treasurer's computer. I have a computer here, but I'm password sensitive on a number of these things. And if you don't get the email from, and you've done this closeout on the Valley Cares Community Grant Loan. If you don't get the email that tells you you've got 10 days to finish this up, or else fines and penalties, and we'll be calling to do another audit kind of thing, then you're out of luck. And long term, looking 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, 12 years down the road, this is gonna be a real
It's gonna be a problem.
issue.
Well, it's an issue, the issue's gonna be the state ain't gonna give you any money, and they're gonna have their land here, so the people in the town of Townsend are gonna have to pony up some more.
Pretty much.
That's, and if I'm correct, I mean, as we sit here today, there are 51 parcels of land for sale, homes for sale in the town of Townsend.
Many of them have been for.
And that's
years.
just Townsend. In
Yeah.
Newfane, Jamaica, all of them are equal. You can't sell them now because of the property tax rate. And what's gonna happen when it keeps going up? And I think our friends in Montpelier and our representatives aren't taking the, I think they get up there and just look at their own self and don't take who they're supposed to be represented into consideration. I mean, we're in a world of something here, a government, the way it's going, and it ain't. Imagine that, 51 houses in one little town, so you add that up and down the valley, and you can't sell them.
When you talk,
Because you look at the tax
you talk to the
rate,
realtors,
it's crazy.
how many of those places have been for sale for more than 6 months or 9 months or a year? Many of them have been just riding on the market.
And Montpelier is not hearing us.
No.
They are not hearing us, and our representative is not hearing us.
If you look at legislative reports, they're not designing a legislation to help the working class people of Vermont. They're
That's right.
special interest, there are many things that they're involved in, which are good things, like going paperless. But we need websites, high-speed internet, things like that, in order to go paperless. And that's not being cell phone towers. We're not getting assistance with that.
Okay, so,
Scott Bridge, Townsend Dam, we're not helping with.
don't start.
But without,
I don't.
without,
Townsend Dam?
all this grant business and stuff, you've gotta hire more help, and that puts more burden on your tax.
Well, let's hire some help.
We don't have any help to do it, or it's falling on my shoulders, it's falling on Craig's
No,
shoulders.
what I'm saying is, it's just forcing us, there ain't no way one person can do all of it.
No, but again, because it's
Or
a little,
volunteer.
exactly,
Yeah, right.
it's a little town, and quite frankly, we don't have the resources to hire the people necessary to comply with these things, so it falls onto my shoulders at $900 a year to take care of these issues, or for Craig to pick up and take on another duty, and it's just not right.
No, it isn't. It isn't right. I mean, it isn't right the way the state is treating the towns in this state. It just is not. The way the whole state government is treating their towns, their respective towns, and it just isn't. And it's the demise. You wait till they do school consolidation, you wanna see something.
No, that
Where
would
your
just-
taxes go then.
Anyway,
My
oh, you
words, I
speak,
said the same thing when Act 68
68.
came through. You
Oh,
were-
Act 60.
60.
It was around
Act
Act
60.
60.
Remember?
46.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh, no, it's gonna be cheaper, yeah, well, there's
but it is
cheaper
for the,
you.
other- it's for the people who don't live here.
Yeah,
It already is, 20 cents a,
Anyway, moving on to the next one. We have a request from a nurse at Grace Cottage to use the town common on October 17th or 18th for a walk, run, raffle benefit for an RN who's been diagnosed with breast cancer. And they would like permission to use the common that day if it's not in conflict with something else. That may be Pumpkin Festival.
I think.
No,
Anita said-
17 and 18th is,
Yeah, Anita, I think, said it was clear.
was it? Okay,
I'm pretty sure, I mean, this went through her.
okay.
Um,
So they're gonna be using a generator so they won't need electricity. So what's your pleasure? Do we wanna ask for some kind of,
well, I'll make a motion, we grant permission to It was outlined in the request.
Use the common for a walk, run, raffle.
Give them 17th, you said?
It says the 17th or the 18th.
Yeah.
How many people are gonna be out running and walking, and is it gonna be the same thing as the other, what do they do, what's the other race they have?
Or is it just a walk around the common?
I don't know.
It's not defined.
It's not defined at all. No, wait, no, it is. Our plans for the common is to set up a tent and have a walk run from the common to Deer Ridge, a bake sale and a silent auction at the common to assist.
It's basically Route 35, like the, whatever the one they have.
It's in multiple emails here.
Not
Took
really.
forever to get
Like
an
a
answer.
poker walk. Or,
Yeah, the poker one.
So there's a motion on the table to allow the use of the common. Was there a second? Is there a second? No, huh?
No. Failed for
Yeah.
lack of a second.
Now, if this is just for the common, this isn't, I mean, do we have, when we had the other thing, didn't we have to have traffic control or something? You know, have the whole, I mean,
Well, for the hospital, we wanted liability insurance,
Liability
which of course
insurance.
we have, and they contracted for the, they had made contact with the sheriff's department at that point in time, and I believe rescue had been contacted. Now, I wasn't there to see who was deployed or what the backup was, but the hospital has done this many times, and I think you can include that in the motion that they cover for traffic control and law enforcement, or however that wants. But the town's emergency management isn't gonna get out, close down half the road, set up cones, do the radio thing at one end and the other. We did that once, and
Yeah, that shouldn't be up to the town if they wanna use it.
well, no,
It should be up to the town.
it's a public road, and by your granting permission to use the road on a Saturday morning, you're basically taking on a certain
We're not
responsibility.
granting permission to use the road, they said the common, right? Am I right?
Well, they're asking permission to use the common, but they're going to do a run from the common to Deer Ridge.
They didn't ask for that.
It says our plan, specifically, word for word, our plans for the common is to set up a tent, have a walk run from the common to Deer Ridge, a bake sale and a silent auction to assist with medical bills.
Running the generator and power it up.
Yeah, and we will be using a generator for electricity. Is there a fee for the use of the common? We are hoping to use the common on October 17th or 18th.
See, they're asking to use the common and they're not addressing the use of the road.
Well, you throw it back at them with the restrictions.
Well, I will say, I mean, the common is something that the town does approve the use of being the common.
And that's what my motion
That
was.
was-
The presumption has been that the roadways are available. I mean, there's a long history of assuming that we can do these runs or these walks or these fundraisers on the roads pretty much at will. And a couple of years ago, there was concern that by the town knowing about it and not having emergency management or highway crew or whatever to basically slow the logging trucks down on a Saturday morning, that the town shared in some sort of, I don't know, some responsibility, I guess, for sanctioning these. They're not asking to use the road. I mean, they're going to. They're presuming they can, but they're not asking for that. They're asking for use of the common, which again is what Kit's motion addresses.
So there's a motion but no second at this point.
Or half seconded it, but are you seconding for the use of the common?
Yeah, for the common, but they're gonna use the road and they ought to provide some kind of traffic control. That's
well,
my,
what gets me about it is you get into it and before you know it, the whole entire area is plugged up and I mean, the common's one thing, road, I think, is a different thing. So, that's where to go with that.
So, I don't know whether they're going to be interested in using just the common without the walk run. I mean, we could certainly go
Well,
ahead.
we're not sanctioning this walk run, we're certainly not giving permission and sanctioning the use of Route 35.
Right, exactly, that's what I'm,
That, I mean, my motion is use of the
is the
common.
use of the common.
Seconded on the use of the common.
Got it from Irv, but,
Oh.
Okay, so,
Well, he's told me he gave a half of one. so
well,
I'll give the
half
other
of it,
half.
but he came back. The
Is-
comment was okay.
is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor of allowing the use of the common for a benefit, see, what does he say? Bake sale and silent auction, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed? Abstentions? You voting, Rob?
I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. The motion passes. So, now what's your pleasure? Do you want to have a letter written that basically lets them know that we've approved the use of the common, but if they're going to be using Route 35, they have to present a plan as for traffic control and,
Well, I think they need to, you at least need to let them know they're responsible for traffic control, that's not just a road running.
Whatever you throw out there for the other stuff should be thrown in there saying this is.
Yeah, I mean, we should have the same policy for when they do the other 5K run as for,
well, first of all, we don't have any policies for the common or the roads, and that's
Right.
something that needs to be addressed. Second of all,
The comment is forthcoming, but I'll throw roads in as an addendum to that when I get it to you before the beginning of the year.
that wasn't nice.
This
That wasn't nice at all.
was perfect.
Now I maybe lose my train of thought.
Only counting months.
Would you quit doing that?
I'm sorry.
Something about the road. Oh, for the 5K, we did ask for insurance, and I'm assuming the hospital will be extending. I mean, they better verify that as well, that the hospital is sanctioning and or verifying the liability insurance, because these people sure can't go out and buy it on their own.
Yep.
I will say as I interpret this, and I haven't talked to anybody, so I don't know, but there are hospital functions, like fair days, which are real big hospital functions which are historic. And then there are these interested parties within the hospital, which is where the 5K run came from and where the poker walk came from, that are, I don't want to say subsidiaries, of the hospital administrative big name and insurance policy and all of that. But individuals in the hospital who have a project that they want to raise funds for. And it becomes kind of a splinter group. This is a very personal thing and a very good thing to do. But I'm not sure that the hospital, Grace Cottage, is behind it per se.
And my point is that if we're gonna demand a certificate of insurance, for this event, that you're talking about a significant cash outlay for something that is essentially a benefit.
well, I think we lie in a situation where if we ended up with 200-300 people running up and down Route 35, there's a lot of liability there. If there's 10, then, you know, it's obviously a lot
Still
less.
liable.
Well, it takes one leg to break.
Yep.
Very true. Or one accident or
But I
anything
don't
of that
think it's,
nature.
I mean, not to be going too far afield, this has been discussed many times,
Yes.
and this is getting long on the discussion, but if somebody wanted to use Taft Meadows and stay on Taft Meadows, I don't think anybody'd say anything about it. Go, fill up the balloons, fly the kites.
Yep.
But because this is public highway and public land and intersections and all of that, it
Yeah.
becomes,
As long as you take even public land,
Crowd
whether
control.
highway or not, if something happens,
well, somebody steps in and go for a whole lot there, but it's different when you're.
if something happens that,
We
you
just
know,
went
they're
through
going
that.
after the one with the deepest pockets.
well, we just went through that in reality, so it's not,
We do.
And the thing is, Route 35 isn't really designed to handle a lot of
no,
foot
it's not
traffic.
designed to handle foot
Well,
traffic.
especially when they're running 3-4 wide. And it turns into one whole lane's tied up. There is still vehicles, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday, that operate. People,
Concrete in front of a church will be back.
I never could figure out why they need to run on roads anyhow and inhale all of that exhaust. They're out there for the health doing, you know, running or bicycling along with traffic to inhale exhaust. There's all kinds of trails and places they can go that's not full of fumes and cars.
So again,
But-
where are we with telling this person, they can do their bake sailing and they can do their silent
We
auction?
approve the use of the common.
And I can
Please
inform,
understand
I
that
can
it
inform
does
Rick
not
Mullen that-
include.
right.
Okay.
I mean, I'll call and I'll say that this does not include the town sanctioning of shutting down the road. That's something that the hospital
It
has
needs
done.
to be
in
part
the
of the
past.
record, it's not, we're not approving or condoning use of Route 35. That's a whole other matter.
I mean, we've had discussion about the noon walkers from the hospital and
Yeah.
elsewhere being at risk. And they're only in groups of 2 or 3.
It's not our
And
responsibility, I don't
I've seen,
believe.
Rob's seen groups of people during these events where there are 10 or 15 people in bunches that are, you know, moving
Yeah.
along, where you,
Basically stops traffic.
It does.
they can, yeah.
All right, so if you would be so kind
I'll
as
call,
to
clarify.
be in touch with whoever this person is. But we evidently got notice that the Townsend Church is celebrating its 225th anniversary on September 26th from 5 to 6 with a slide presentation. And then a ham dinner thereafter.
I'm sorry, 26?
Yes.
9/26. Yeah, I just want to get done.
And then we have on Sunday, there's a celebratory worship service. And then we received our report from
ECS.
ECS on the drinking water and groundwater sampling in, I'm assuming, our area.
But it's the Bristol House, 2 doors down here, across from where the garage was. Oh, Dan's garage, I guess, now.
Okay.
And I think everything looks okay in there. I didn't read it. We got one in.
That's the annual
And
monitor.
they pulled, as Joe pointed out, but they did pull the monitor well that we used to have on our property out here. They capped that off, pulled that out, so I think they're ending up.
Was it these people that did that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, he pulled quite a few of them in town.
Did he?
So I think they've had a number, maybe more than a decade of clean reports, and now they're probably gonna back away from it.
Right, close down.
Yeah.
All right, and the next one, next piece of correspondence, I will entertain a motion to find that premature public discussion of probable civil litigation between the town of Townsend and Hans Reelick would place the select board at a substantial disadvantage if it were to be held in public.
so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of finding that a discussion would place us at a substantial disadvantage, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Then I will entertain a motion to enter executive session under 1 VSA 317C4.
So
That's a
move.
good one.
Yeah, it is a new one.
Second.
To discuss that, to discuss correspondence from the town attorney. Now we can, motion and second.
So move.
All those,
Okay, Alma, who moved it here, Kit?
I don't know, it says choose one.
Rob seconded it. And
Okay,
we're moving in at, let's say 7:21.
okay. It should take. Call the meeting back to order at, I can't see the clock, 7:43?
Sure.
Okay.
And as a result?
I would make a motion that we, refer the situation with Hans and Sally Reelick to the Board of Abatement, Board of Civil Authority,
No, just the Board of Abatement.
on the to the Board of Abatement on the recommendation of our attorney.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of referring the Reelick letter to the Board of Abatement signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. So that will get turned over to the town clerk tomorrow to make the necessary notifications and do the postings. All right. Then
Just please make note that that motion is made on the recommendation of our attorney.
I do, yeah.
Right. Just so there's a paper trail on
Okay, the next one, old business officer appointments, as we talked about earlier, we still desperately need somebody from, Wyndham Regional. So if anybody has any ideas about regional or, senior solutions, you know, please feel free to offer some names. And now the elephant that's in the
You can
room.
skip that one.
I don't think so.
Oh, I
I don't think so.
do. Okay.
We're having an issue with the,
it.
Old business.
Did we do one?
yeah, we did.
Okay. Oh, I was late, wasn't
Yep, you were.
I? Can't get here.
One of the things that we've had, or one of the problems that we've had since we've hired the new bookkeeper is trying to coordinate schedules as to who's going to do what and when. And as a result, there's been a lot of confusion about what hours people are going to be here and et cetera. One of the things that's happened is Craig is finding his way back into the back office. He's doing the checks. He's
Black
doing.
hole, giant sucking sound.
He's
Black
do,
hole.
he's doing the warrants for us. He's doing payroll.
And the day-to-day intake of all the bills.
All the
and
mail.
All the notices and
Right.
the grants and the.
So, yeah, I think one of the things we need to try to figure out is, number one, we need to ask the new bookkeeper to give us a relative idea of when she's comfortable being in the office and just what duties she is in fact willing to take on. I know she does her own payroll. She's never worked with a service like People's as we have, and I'm sure that's confounding, because it's confounding to me. But I think it's time that we actually have that type of a discussion about who's going to be in the office when and what duties are going to be performed by whom. Does anybody?
So I would suggest that we invite her to the next meeting,
And that would be fine.
so we can sit down and, 'cause I don't think that we outlined any duties that we wanted from her or anything else. We left it between, her and Craig to work out and she was gonna work with Newmark and get the pages clear.
And see, that's the big problem, is that didn't happen.
We don't have the pages clear, and the more I'm in the room, the more,
The muddier
the
we
less
get it.
clear it's gonna be. Well, and you can clean up somebody can clean up my problems within a month. But if I stay there for 6, I mean, they're just gonna exacerbate.
Yeah.
We haven't finished out last year yet, we have no auditors whatsoever, and
So I think that we need to have Terry come in, so we all sit down and,
Terry has been working diligently to try to reconcile last year, get that cleaned up, and get us caught up. She doesn't do the payroll on people, she can learn, but again, it's a timing thing. She's in for 1 day a week, and this is a job, as Joe will say. I mean, the stuff comes in every single day. It's gotta be filed, it's gotta be processed. It takes a little time. If the library calls with a problem, question on payroll, which Karen did last week, rightfully so, somebody needs to be here to answer that, but it's a 2-hour research project. And I'm familiar enough with it to be able to do that research and get answers back, but these are things that happen on a regular daily basis. And,
And just,
we're coming into budget season,
Well,
we're coming
yeah.
into,
I think you definitely need to invite her to the next meeting, because I think when we first met her, she was talking about working 1 day, not on every day. I didn't think we were hiring a full-time
not every day,
bookkeeper.
not quite.
no,
Well, you're just saying full-time. You're
Well-
sitting there now saying every day, and now you're saying not every day. So it is or isn't. And I think that's something that we need to have her here, ask her to come in. But if you're gonna say it's every day, or it's not every day.
Well, there are things there are things that do happen every day. We have deadlines for payroll on Mondays, Tuesdays. And we have deadlines for warrants on Fridays, because the board needs to be able to look at them on the weekend, or at least have them on Mondays. And, she's been coming in on Fridays, and some things happened. I mean, she had an audit up in Jamaica, she's got taxes coming in Jamaica this week, which has the treasurer up there, requires a lot of time, and she's great. And she's been working to figure out why things are the way they are. There are just day-to-day things, like preparing the warrants, which, I mean, you look at that stack, it takes a little time. And then tomorrow we'll be cutting checks to pay the vendors and getting them into the treasurer to sign. There are those daily kinds of things, and I didn't think that was gonna go back to me. And actually been padding my payroll to account for that, believe it or not. But I don't have an extra 5 or 6 or 7 hours a week unless I take something else off my schedule.
And I think the thing that needs to be made very clear is the fact that when she was hired, it was with the understanding that Lori from Nimerick was going to be coming in and working to help resolve some of the past issues. You know, I thought we had
Starting
this,
with a zero balance.
yeah, we had this massive team effort to begin anew. And unfortunately, for health reasons, that hasn't been able
That's
to
not
happen.
happened.
So, you know, it's nobody's fault, it's just a matter of our plan didn't come to fruition. And so now we don't really know who's doing what or what the timing is on any of these things. So it's a very good idea to invite her to the next meeting to have that discussion.
And I'm truly happy, I'm not complaining too much. I'm stressed for time, is what it is, and there are just too many things. We get calls from insurance companies, who's your HR officer? And it ends up being me, because there isn't somebody else. So I'm talking to the representative from Aflac, because she's new, and that just eats up a half an hour, which doesn't really, you know what I mean? It just, there's only so many hours in a day.
Yep.
All right. So if you would,
Derek, come to the next
yeah,
one?
if you would just, when you see her, just ask her if it is possible. I think we're on off weeks from Jamaica, so that she should be able to maybe spare us an hour or so to have a discussion.
She had, and just a segue, she had mentioned doing payroll in-house, which is something she is capable of doing. We do have a contract with Peoples, which doesn't
Just-
expire for a while, so.
Just rolled over.
What's a while?
It just rolled over. In,
What's that mean?
To go for a year?
I want to say it was an odd time.
Like August?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't remember, I never really did look
Or
at it.
May. It was a
Well,
really
it-
odd rollover.
I never looked at it because I'm not capable of doing payroll, and she is, and I wouldn't touch state and federal taxes if I could save my life. I'd assume they would service do it, but people say it's problematic, and we're about to get into some of those this week with the retirement funds, trying to straighten those out.
All right. So the grant applications, just as an update, I kind of mentioned it earlier, as did Craig. Those did go in, the new required grants for pilot, et cetera, et cetera. Craig met the deadline, he ticked all the buttons, he got a printout of the funds that are coming. So that has been handled for
We
this
have new
year.
dates, we don't have money.
Yeah, well,
We have
that's
new
it.
dates, we don't have money.
We have new
Actually, I
dates.
think that pilot money was figured in for this fiscal year too, right?
We budgeted for 50, well, what do we budget for?
Whatever it was.
We're getting 2,000, we're getting 2,900, we budgeted for 5,000. Last year we got 4194, this year we're getting 28.
So they've cut it in half anyhow.
But we,
Oh,
well,
yeah, that's no fault of ours,
Legislative
our
grant
representatives
application.
didn't vote the money into the grant.
Our representatives in Montpelier did not vote the money in.
And I did ask the tax
Pay
department,
for-
I did ask the tax department when they would be making up the deficit, and was pretty much laughed at.
Yep. There's our representatives.
anyway,
Kathy saw that email, I
I did.
believe, yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Here, we'll give you half of it. Shut up now, go away, all right?
Pretty much.
Well, the tax department, I said,
Okay.
okay, I see that we're receiving half of this in October, when may we expect the remainder? You gotta be kidding me, was pretty much the gist of the answer. You're not getting the other half. That's up to the legislature, and they cut it short this year, and they may cut it short next year, depending on their budgetary needs.
Well,
But remember, we were all equalized. We all got the same share of that pie.
Except that Townshend is uniquely positioned to rely upon payment in lieu of tax monies, which we've been shortchanged for 50 years. And when they cut it by 50% again, it just, I mean, it doesn't, $2,000 doesn't amount to anything, but it just, it's an
and without any forewarning, they
It's
just
an
cut it by
sure.
50%. Maybe
Sure.
our representative could explain that to us.
Well, and add 50% or 100% to the bookkeeping tasks and auditing tasks that you have to do in here to account for
And
everything.
then you're gonna go, please, may I have my tax money?
I'm not gonna be here that evening, just so you know.
Yeah, but not only that, for a long time, the pilot money, you didn't even get it, you only got it when they
Yes,
cut
you are.
timber, and they didn't cut timber very high.
Yeah,
Oh, I always have issues. Anyway, moving on.
Mine is on top of yours. Mine comes
I just don't understand it. I don't understand, I do understand, I understand what they're trying to do there, but
Yeah, but if you read the backside of it and watch the money that's going down the drain, that's being fribbled away for absolutely no
I know.
reason.
All right,
Hundreds of $1 millions on a website that doesn't work, and
that's what our representatives do.
the next issue would be the East Hill FEMA.
all I know is that I've submitted everything that's been requested, and it's in front of the FEMA representative again for, their initial review. Having
Initial
talked to
or-
Terry, Terry has a contact through Mary Andes, and we're supposed to be meeting, I believe, with Mary this week, on Jamaica issues, but had requested that Townsend be updated through her. We're dealing with one person, and there's always 3 or 4 weeks between the correspondence. But as far as I know, everything is in, has been in, more than once, but, they're in no hurry to cut a check.
Well, and I'm sure everybody caught what happened with Bennington and the fact that they disallowed a massive chunk of money.
At this late date, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I want to say $1 million plus
What the Bennington got?
that they did not get from FEMA.
Yeah, that FEMA business, that was,
We'll talk about it off
Good.
camera.
it could have been done that same year, and they decided they wanted to change things, so. It wasn't FEMA that wanted it to change.
That's right.
That's why the problem comes in.
All right,
If you remember right, Earl, you and I volunteered our assistance.
It is partly Washington, the Congress. They approve all kinds of funding for these things. They declare natural disasters, the governor, the president, everybody says, yes, we'll put X, but then they never appropriate the money.
all right. Moving on, let's do the town report assembling committee. As Craig mentioned earlier, we do not have any active auditors. We had an auditor come in last week and stayed for a very short period of time
15 minutes.
and turned around and walked back out. That's the only auditor we've seen in months.
And she made it 15, or they made it 15 minutes?
There was supposed to be another auditor to show up, and unfortunately, that other auditor didn't, and didn't call to tell this auditor that
So that's where.
wasn't coming. So anyway, this one walked out, and that was that.
So I have absolutely no confidence that we're going to have any auditors to put together a town report this year.
They
Yeah,
are
but not only that, we're not gonna know where we stand either.
well, that's a whole different.
Chris will help you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well,
That's a whole different matter. There are ways around that, but the statute requires for a town report that the select board put in a warning for election of officers, that you put in a proposed budget, because you need those numbers, and that the auditors, technically, sign off on having looked at the previous year's books. Good, bad, or indifferent. They have to come up with a statement of some sort. The treasurer can do that if you don't have active auditors. Wardsboro did it last year. Jackie Bedard and Wardsboro had just pulled their town report out and looked at it. Said, due to not having auditors, she was attesting to, these are the books as best I can figure it out.
But as far as
And that will be acceptable.
this town report assembly committee, it does not have to be the auditors.
No, it does not. It's the select board's,
And I think that's where we're going with this. We'd like to put out a call for people to volunteer to help put together the.
If you don't have figures, how are you gonna put it together? That's a hell of a.
well, it's, as I say, it's more than figures. The statute requires that the auditors write a report. If you don't have a report, which is just a paragraph that says, we have looked at the books and in our opinion, professional or otherwise, in our opinion, the books have been cooked, or they haven't been cooked, or whatever. They need to put a report signed by the auditors. In lieu of the fact that you don't have them, the treasurer can do that as a legal substitute.
let me just run this through though.
But the other two requirements are for a
Because
warning.
we have elected auditors,
We do.
all right? Apparently they are inactive,
Well, they aren't showing up to do the job.
all right?
Okay.
So barring that, we need to hire
Yep,
a professional auditor to present the numbers to us.
right.
Right.
Is it acceptable that the professional auditor write the auditing
No.
report? It has to come
Well,
from the
They would have to come
elected.
from the treasurer in that
If the
case.
town does away with the office of auditor, and there is an opportunity to do that at town meeting, we've tried to do that
Well,
before.
I think we need to, but
Well, no, but I mean, if the voters decide that we no longer can have auditors who aren't up to speed on municipal accounting systems and can't really do the job thoroughly and accurately,
then it falls on the
then you can
treasurer.
eliminate the office of auditor, you can hire from the outside.
Then it falls on the treasurer, right?
Well, no, you still need auditors, because the auditor is technically looking at what the treasurer is doing and saying that your treasurer is or isn't embezzling money.
Yeah, Joe, don't do that.
Yeah, but you get a written report from a professional auditor.
Oh, no, you will, yes,
And
yes,
that can be put in
of course.
how
And then-
how the books stand.
Right, but as it is with an elected office of auditors, one of the statutes, one of the key elements of the town report
Oh, yeah.
is there is an auditor's report. It's just one sentence or two sentences.
Right, no, I realize
There is a
that.
warning and there's a budget proposal. All the rest of it, from the comparative balance sheets to the spreadsheets, to all this accounting stuff that's in the town report, to all the social service report, all that's just fluff. All the pictures, all the writing, everything else. You can do a town report in about 4 pages. You can mimeograph it, photocopy it, do whatever you want. It does not have to be a book. It does not have to be, there are 3 or 4 elements that have to be there. That's all that's necessary.
Yeah, I think that's.
That may be all that's necessary, but it doesn't give you a
I'm not
clue
saying-
that John Q. citizen.
Right, but when you're asking for volunteers to put a book together, you need to bear in mind that they don't have to put together a 60-page book and include
Oh,
the
I
cost,
realize that.
and include the cost of an elementary school's book, which we end up paying for, not the school. I mean, we publish that as part of what our auditors used to put together as a book. Anyway, we can meet the statutory requirements. If we don't have auditors, the treasurer will have to provide a statement in lieu of not having auditors. We'll see what happens. But in terms of putting the booklet together, in terms of putting the town report together and getting it to press, that does not fall on the auditors
No.
by any rule. And Kathy was asking for maybe getting a committee together, seeing if people, with or without, so it's a lot of fun, or it can be, but seeing if we couldn't get a committee of volunteers or others together to basically start thinking about this in the next month or
I
so.
support that one.
The only problem with that particular piece is the push and shove time comes right at the holidays.
Yep.
And that makes it really difficult for anybody, to carve out extra time at the holiday season, but. No, bah humbug. Okay, well, you're on the committee.
Well, one of the tougher parts, and I've been on many committees for town reports, and I've done one town report virtually by myself. One of the tough parts is getting all the departments to submit their budgets and their written reports, and you are lassoing wild horses in a field. I mean, you draw all that together. The rest of it, from doing the layout and getting the publisher online and all that, is actually just basically mock-up and fun. It's cut and paste, and putting pictures in or artwork or whatever fills the pages. Getting things finalized, getting a highway budget, getting the listers to come up with a budget, getting
Getting
Anita's
us
real
to come up
good,
with a
Joe's real
budget.
good about coming up with a report, but you know what I mean. Or getting the library to get together and get their stuff ready to go, knowing how many pages it is, getting it in the right font, all that can be problematic. But if everybody's got a Thanksgiving deadline or something, it shouldn't be that hard.
So basically what we're doing is I think we should probably ask for a committee to assemble the town report this year, since we don't have any active auditors. They don't seem to have a particular interest in,
I support that. If you would like that a motion, I would make a motion.
I think we should probably make a motion that we're
I
going
would
to
make a
appoint.
motion that we appoint a committee
To assemble the town report.
assembling the town report.
Is there a second to that?
Yep.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of establishing a town report assembling committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And all in favor are on the committee. Congratulations, guys.
I can figure that anyway. All right, so can we put up some notices? I don't know where to put them where they might be seen, because there's so much.
For the select board to appoint, you want them to.
Well, you're on
you want them to
television
submit.
now, so if anybody's watching that has interest in doing this, please let us know.
But I think we also ought to put
You
some,
know, how else?
Yeah.
They don't-
Can we go on the website? Can I send something to
I
Rick?
can, I can certainly, yeah,
Yeah,
we
okay.
we can get it up there as well.
Sure.
All right,
Or can
and,
we just have Rick do it
I've already played.
this fall?
I-
You got time this fall?
I
You
tried
got
to,
time between now and Christmas?
I tried to do that, it didn't work.
I would also say that we ought to at least send a short memo to all the departments reminding them that budget season is coming up. And we're looking at a November, whoops, isn't
How
there?
about Halloween for preliminary? I mean,
That's
November
November
is tough
1st.
for everybody.
November 1st, November 2nd. It'll be the first Monday of the month.
Okay, so you wanna try to get budgets in by then and reports started?
Well, I know it seems early, but all of a sudden there it is, you know.
They gotta be here before you know it.
So if we could get that noticed, and anybody who wants to volunteer can certainly drop their name off here, that they would like to participate in putting the town report together. The one thing we did add, and we kind of skipped over it, is the planning commission letter, and I don't have a copy of that, you took them back?
Sorry?
Do I?
None of us do, I just saw
Nope,
it.
nobody has copies, because I only had 6 of them, because I ran out of, running out of. Well, where is it?
No, you have them.
I got 6 of them. And 1 copy for the file.
All right. I'm gonna pass them out, but just know these are actually original copies. They're made out to different individuals. And it's basically a request from the planning commission for us to sign a joint letter complaining about the condition of the dam.
And they did not, as this board has already more or less read this draft letter, it's changed a little bit. Didn't see the pictures necessarily, but this board has read that. The planning committee, and I took back to the planning commission, and Bob DeServo was here when you talked about it, a desire to discuss the pilot program and the finances and some of the history on that. And the planning commission felt that was not a separate subject, but more deeper than they wanted to get into or had time to get it before the end of September. This needs to kind of go out, not that there'll be a response from our representatives, but that financial issue needed to be very carefully worded, researched, hard-hitting. This was one where the condition at the dam has been hurting local businesses and tourism. People have been complaining about not being able to put a boat across the waters or fish up there.
So basically, I guess what I'm asking from you all, after you get done reading it, is approval, your approval to sign this joint letter. They're going out.
There is one to the governor, Governor
I was just gonna
Shumlin's.
read them, I think that's the one Herb has. I went to Senator Leahy, to Senator Sanders, Congressman Welch, Jeanette White, Emily Long, and the governor. So I'd entertain a motion.
What about, now who have you got there?
I have got Shumlin, Leahy, Sanders, Welch, White, and Emily Long.
What about Army Corps of Engineers?
Could be.
We can do Army Corps of Engineers as
I
well.
really think we
Oh,
should.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think,
And the chair of the planning committee, if you saw the second page, the chair of the
I mean,
planning commission
I
did
just
sign
think we
that.
should, but. Don't have to, but I think that.
You forgot the other senator.
That's
I'm
it,
sorry?
you sort of roll first, or
Um,
exaggerated.
Becca? Bouillon? I can't remember her last
Okay.
name. But there's
We
another,
can
there's
run
another
out two
second.
more tomorrow yeah.
So, I'd entertain a motion.
And also, yeah, in the Army Corps that says that, as outlined why they will not increase their pilot money because of all of the revenue that it provides for the town of Townsend.
I'd also put on
To
that,
that, so, you know, that, well, I think you should, I mean,
Well,
To
and
that-
the planning commission didn't disagree with that, believe me, but it just became, when you go down that trail, you start, now you're gonna do a 4 or 5 page letter. And,
no, I think that same thing. Two, what is that group down in
the
Connecticut?
Connecticut River Valley
Yes.
Flood
Those
Authority,
people.
right, commission.
I'll put that, those people to the list.
Yeah, I mean, the ones,
That compact that
Yeah.
provides the
But-
pilot money.
yeah,
Is that what you're saying, is add them to the list? So that's 3 of them tomorrow. Do you want some ink cartridges? I've got some at
There's
home.
Massachusetts and Connecticut.
We're talking about this Epson over here.
Yeah,
Epson
I don't have
printer.
an
No,
Epson
I've got more, but it does, and, Connecticut Valley floodplain, whatever it is, okay. Flood control, drain field. Okay, we'll add those 3.
Okay. So again, is there a motion to sign?
I would make a
Letter?
motion that we authorize the chair to sign the letter,
Joint letter.
a joint letter from outlining the conditions of the Townsend Lake / dam.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, instructing the chair to sign the joint letter talking about the issues out at Townsend Dam Lake Dam? Anyway, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. So I will sign these, and I will sign the next 3 tomorrow, and then you can go get Art's signature on the others.
Okay.
All right, so, our budget schedule, what's your pleasure as far as beginning budget talks?
March 1st.
We don't have to worry about our report, do we? Hey, we just solved all the issues. We're not gonna have budget talks, we're not gonna have a budget, good to go.
Fire me.
The select board.
We're gonna do exactly what every other board in this town does and not do anything. Fire me. Okay. Well, if that's an acceptable answer, then
Well-
I'll take it as a motion.
Just kick that football.
Kick that football down.
Well, I'll kick the football a little bit and say that I think that we need to have a discussion with our bookkeeper about where we're at. I mean, we gotta find out where we're at now.
I
And
can
when
give you-
we're comfortable with that and she's able to help get these next numbers up in the preparation, then let's do it.
But at the end of, due to the auditors, at the end of June, we should have figures that tell if the highway's in a deficit or a surplus or all that stuff, because we gotta have that before we can do the budget.
Deja vu all over again?
Yes.
Didn't I sit here last year and repeatedly say that over and
Yes.
over and over
Yes.
again? I need numbers, I need to know if we have a surplus or deficit to be able to set
And
a
I would
budget.
look to our
And
bookkeeper
in
for
normal,
this.
and in an absolutely normal year, it's tough enough. I've been an auditor, I've sat here many years now, 8 years in a row now doing this, with you, some of you, many times. Last year was not a normal year, and last year's budget was not a normal budget. This year's is no different. That having been said, yes, we do need to close out last year. so that we do know where we are. I did a budget status printout for you guys and decided not to waste the paper to print it out because not all the numbers are right as to where we are at the end of this first quarter, September 30th. Haven't spent a lot of money so far. And these warrants aren't in the system yet, which include the payments to the schools, which is
All
a
right,
big
but
chunk of it.
let me interrupt and ask. In order to get that year closed out and get all the numbers right, what do we need to do? Do we need to hire a professional auditor?
Well, you're doing that with Nimrick, and that was $500 for 5 hours. Okay, and she was gonna be here for a week, and due to circumstances, she isn't, and Terry is trying to pick up where she left off.
Okay.
But if you go in that back room anytime and just take an objective, it looks like looking in the back room of the auction house down there behind the curtain. It is nothing but
Nose
boxes
out
of
of
papers.
Well, I understand that, so that's what I'm asking.
Right.
Should we hire a professional auditor?
I don't.
Wanna
I've made
meet
two
with
efforts.
Terry and?
I've made 2 efforts to, well, actually 3 efforts to make that happen, and so far we don't have somebody that's willing to come in for a day a month or 2 days a month to keep us up to speed on a regular basis.
More like a CPA as opposed to an auditor.
Yeah, somebody wanted to know. Sunday afternoons I'll be here, whatever.
Yeah, that's not gonna work,
Okay.
all right? Because you've already tried it, it's not gonna work. So what I'm asking, let me see if I can phrase it right. Do we need to hire a professional auditor to come in and audit last year's books and say, okay, here we are, now we're gonna, this is how the year end closes out, and this is accurate?
Yeah, when you don't have enough of the fundamentals in place to bring in an auditing firm. You would pay them to do the books before they could do the audit. So now you're talking about,
We just finished a $15,000 audit, and I don't really have a lot of confidence in it, and that was in March. That having been said, to answer your question specifically, I would defer to Terry and to Laurie from Nimrick with regard to that question. I think that they're getting closer. I think that Terry is starting to reconcile July and moving into August, or is getting closer to it. I don't know what her time frame is, what she expects by the end of September, by the end of October to be caught up. I don't know where Laurie is and what she was doing either.
Okay, then we need, that was the second half of my
Right,
question.
and I would
Or should we wait?
defer to their opinion because I don't know the deep
But
inner structure of
the
it.
thing is that we can't wait until
We gotta find,
December to find out where the hell we are.
yes, you can.
if they feel you have to wait, you have to wait.
I'm away.
I'm gonna be somewhere warm. Yeah.
Don't, you're really in a roll tonight. You are.
Away.
We have your cell
Man.
number, don't we?
You do.
I do, it's right here in the front of this book.
Do.
Right here.
I forgot and left my phone in town.
Anyway, is there any other business that needs to be dealt with? The
Oh, I
next,
got one question. I wonder if anybody has talked to that outfit up to the dam. They're taking the guardrail out, to build a house, but they got the goddamn gravel or material while they build up in front of it, out beyond where the guardrail was, and it's gonna let the water come out onto the road that the town has.
We are responsible for the road that we don't own. So I would say.
I realize that, but if they're gonna take and pour the water out there, which there's no reason for, they should fix it now and not after the fact.
are we talking about the,
The
Tower,
control,
tower.
I'm not familiar. There's a control house going in. I hadn't seen that go in. I knew they were working down by the main.
No, right, they got a big building and transformers and everything set right there on the ledge that's going across the bridge.
They didn't send us engineering plans or how much they were gonna invest. We did try to talk to, one of the representatives, the regional representative, who's gonna be up here last Monday. It didn't connect and it didn't happen. But I'm trying to get somebody to come to the table and talk to you guys, because we haven't heard from these people since 2012. And the business was, the operation was basically sold by Blue Heron Hydro to Eagle Creek. Eagle Creek is now running this show. And I thought it was about time we were able to have a face at the table and talk to them about issues. But I was not aware that anything was happening with the road. We're responsible for that road. I know
Yeah,
you
but they haven't blacktopped it, they dug it up. The slope from that building they built on that little piece of ledge there, the salt, the material
dam.
comes right out into the travel portion of the road.
Okay, that's part of the actual, fill for the dam, so that's what's supposed to hold the water back if the water goes up.
Oh, well.
But if,
No, this is the electric,
yeah, they're little huts, they're little whatever, they're a control
yeah.
shed or they're
but
monitoring.
it's way above the flood stage, that building
Yeah.
is, so.
Yeah,
But they've got it so that it's, water come right from the building, gonna run right out into the road.
well, there's nothing I can say about it, I don't think
No,
the
but I just
woman would say
wondered
anything.
if-
I would think it would be up to this board to address
Yeah,
that.
that's why,
Or delegate the responsibility of address to
that's why
somebody.
I'm bringing it up, so that
Yeah.
before they get all done and gone.
I would make a motion that we appoint Irv Stoll to visit,
It's
the
Eagle Creek.
contractors,
Right, yeah, contractors.
and
No,
get
I
this
ain't got-
issue, no, I know, to get this issue straightened out. That's why I'm
Yeah.
making a motion to appoint you, because you know what you're talking about, and you can go up and.
Because I've been watching it, and I said,
On
well,
behalf
I'm
of
gonna
the
bring it up
board.
tonight.
I like it better when they park, the people that are working on it are inconsiderate enough to park actually in the travel portion of the road, and then we'll sit there and watch a truck try to maneuver around their vehicles parked in the middle of the road. And I watched it firsthand the other day while I was waiting for a truck of my own to show up.
So is there a second for
Is
that
that a
motion?
second, Rob?
Seconded.
Okay.
Any further
Go get
discussion?
'em, Irv.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
so speak on the behalf of the board.
Motion passes. All right, anything else under other business? All right, the next regular scheduled meeting is October 5th, and I won't be here, just 'cause.
However, there is a Board of Abatement meeting
Just
prior,
because.
there's a Board of Abatement meeting prior to that, and you said that was on,
The
September
29th.
29th, Tuesday, something?
Tuesday?
Tuesday,
Yep,
29th.
5:30.
Yeah,
Calendar.
Next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow.
it's at the
Next
BCA,
Tuesday.
the BCA meeting is first, and that's for the checklist,
A checklist.
and then the abatement will be after that.
Okay, so Kyle, you're running the show on October 5th, right?
Yeah, he is,
Okay,
huh?
good for you.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll let everybody
What time's
know,
it?
there's not gonna be a meeting.
What time's the BCA meeting?
5:30.
Holy shit, they
It's
don't give a
too
working
early.
man a
No,
chance.
it's way too early.
What do you mean, you work? You're
Anita,
supposed to work, you're a selectman.
Anita doesn't wanna hang around here, so she's.
You heard me making a lot of noise the other day.
She doesn't
I
work on
know,
that.
I know. So it
Well,
makes.
just because she doesn't want to come back. I mean,
Makes it early.
We'll go home at 4 and come back at 5, you know, that's pretty tough.
Anyway, so if there's nothing else,
All right,
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn
so
at,
moved.
okay, at 8:23, looks like. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Right?
Aye.
Opposed?
Me.
Me. Me's opposed. Just so you know.
Well, just 'cause you got.